Hey guys, we're going to go ahead and talk about the life of Jesus. Um, and I have your terms listed for you. So if you have your computer, follow along with me. If you do not, then have paper and pencil. We talked about in the last couple of chapters, we talked about Christianity and Judaism and the differences between the two. Well, now we're getting into the New Testament. The New Testament is only accepted by the Christian faith. It is not accepted by the Jewish faith or the Muslim faith. Okay. That's not to say that they don't revere Jesus. Jesus is revered as a prophet, but not as the Messiah. The first four books of the New Testament are called the Gospels. Anybody know what that term, the Gospels, means? Yes, sir.
It's the first four books of the New Testament.
It is. Can you name them?
No, I cannot.
Okay. Yes, sir. Can you name them, Mr. Sutton? The first four books of the Bible?
Exodus.
Nope. No, the New Testament.
New Testament, not all. That's Genesis, Exodus.
That's yep. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Very good. Very good. All right. Well, the story goes that there is a young girl who is engaged to be married to a guy by the name of Joseph, who's significantly, well, he's not significantly, but he's several years older than her. She is visited by the angel Gabriel. And according to the New Testament, he tells her she is with child. Well, she had never, she and Joseph were just engaged. They had never been together sexually. So what happens is, oh my gosh, Joseph is going to, here he is, this older guy, and he's, okay, there we go. Let me turn that way. Okay. Quit moving your heads, you weirdos. All right. He sees Mary pregnant. What do you think Joseph is going to think? I mean, think about it. What do you think he's going to think? He's probably going to freak out a little bit, isn't he? So what's going to happen is the angel is going to visit him as well. And when the angel visits him, he's going to reassure him, she is carrying, she is with child, and this is from God. Well, what's that? Yeah. And then the story from there, actually. If you've ever seen the cartoon The Star, it's a cute little cartoon. If you've not watched it, you should. Yeah. So what happens is they get married, and and then Jesus, of course, is born. And the whole story about away in a manger. So I'm not going to make you go back all over that. We're going to skip ahead from Jesus as a newborn all the way to him as a young man, when he goes and he gets baptized by a guy by the name of John the Baptist, who was actually his first cousin. Anybody in here Catholic by any chance? No? Just me? Okay. Well, in Catholicism, there is a prayer. It's called the Hail Mary. And in it, they say, "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee." That prayer comes from a woman by the name of Elizabeth. She was cousins with Mary. Well, it's literally scripture. She was carrying a child at the time when she saw Mary, who was pregnant with Jesus. She was pregnant as well. And she was carrying a baby by the name of John. And he'll eventually be John the Baptist, that you've all heard of. John the Baptist was leading people back to the faith. And he would baptize people in the Jordan River. And he lived like a wild man. He lived out in the wilderness, and he would eat locusts and honey, and he would wear just like hide clothing. And there we go. And he sees Jesus coming towards him. Now, he had never, maybe he had met him. I don't think so. But he sees Jesus coming towards him on the Jordan River. Jesus will be baptized by John the Baptist. John the Baptist, when you would be baptized, basically it was like a spiritual cleansing. Okay, you're giving your body and your soul to God. Now, why am I not saying you give your body and your soul to Jesus? At that time, there was no such thing as Christianity. Okay, so people that go, well, Jesus was a Christian. No, he wasn't. Jesus wasn't a Christian. Christianity, that term, is the people who followed Jesus's teachings. Do you see what I mean? All right.
So Jesus is the teacher.
Jesus is the teacher. Yes, absolutely right. Okay, so according to the Bible, in Matthew 3:17, when Jesus is baptized, when he comes out, there's an audible voice, according to the Bible, and it says, "This is my son in whom I'm well pleased." Well, who do you think is saying that? Yes, sir. God. Okay, good. Now, after this, Jesus is going to go into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. And have you ever heard of the temptations of the devil, or Jesus being tempted? Okay. Yeah, well, he's going to go into the desert and he's going to be tempted by the devil. Well, Jesus is going to resist the temptations. Okay. And the term fasting, a lot of times people use this term to talk about dieting. But fasting usually means to give up something for spiritual reasons. Okay, a lot of people will fast certain foods. Like in Catholicism, we don't eat red meat on Fridays. Okay, we'll eat fish on Fridays. Not everybody follows that, but a lot of people do. So they fast red meat or chicken or anything like that. Sometimes you might fast caffeine. Have you ever heard of Lent? A lot of people have Lent at their churches. And that means for 40 days before Easter, you give up something. I've given up in the past. I've given up like soft drinks, but I don't drink soft drinks anymore. But some people might give up potato chips, or you might give up video games. That's a really good one. Boy, I wish my son would do that. That would be awesome. Yeah,
he's like,
yeah. Abe is like.
I have a feeling that Abe would probably never do that.
Yeah, probably not. Okay, so term number 7 we've already talked about. So that's the temptations of Jesus. All right. Now, Jesus, he had people who followed him. Those people who followed him and left their jobs and followed him around the countryside, around Galilee, they were his disciples. Okay. And can anybody name some of his disciples in here? Yes, sir. James and John, and who else? Judas. Peter.
Oh, I was gonna say Judas.
Okay. So you guys know a lot of them. Okay. By the way, Peter, what does that mean? Anybody know what the word Peter, the name Peter means? It means rock. Okay.
Didn't Peter get like crucified or something?
Yes. And I think Paul does as well. They're crucified up. I think it might have been Paul. I'm not sure, but one of them. No, it was Peter. He gets crucified upside down. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Crucified. Here, let me show you.
Jesus. Oh yeah, his little Jesus thing.
This is a crucifix. Okay, and basically, he was crucified upside down. Okay. Now, when Jesus would tell stories, when he would go around the countryside and he would tell stories, he would tell them in parables. Parables are just short stories that give a moral, okay? Like one that you guys all know, a parable that you all know that has nothing to do with Christianity, but it's just tells a moral, is how about the little boy who cried wolf?
Yeah.
What is it telling you not to do? Yes, sir. Tells you not to lie, or else people eventually are going to get sick of your lies and do what? Ignore you, right? Absolutely. Good job. Okay, so if Jesus would go around and he would tell these stories, he would tell them in story form. Instead of just going, don't lie, Shelby, don't lie. He didn't say that. What he would say is he would tell a story showing why lying would be a bad thing. Okay. What's that?
I said he's kind of giving you.
Yeah.
Wasn't there one like that? Some boy left his dad, and his dad gave him
Yes.
a lot of money, and then he screwed it all.
Yeah. The prodigal son. That's the example that they give in your reading. Okay. And the prodigal son, the boy goes to his dad and says, "Hey, Dad, I want my inheritance now." "Why, son?" "Well, I want to go and party and be a wild man for a while." So he does. He goes and he uses the money up, his inheritance up, but then eventually he's going to come back and ask for forgiveness from his father. What is that moral telling you? What is that parable telling you?
Like save up your money. Like don't spend it on stuff junk. Yeah.
Probably, yeah, maybe that, but maybe something else too. Yes, sir.
God will forgive you no matter what.
Forgiveness. Yes, absolutely right. Forgiveness. Mr. Brown over there, sitting there. What if you do something that really hurts your father's feelings, right? Well, nowadays we know that we can ask for forgiveness. Well, this was still a very new concept during the time of Jesus when he's walking around telling these teachings. Wow, you mean that I can be forgiven for what I have done? Wow, it was a brand new concept. Okay. All right, the two great commandments. A lot of people didn't like Jesus. Okay, they didn't like him going around and telling these stories and claiming to be the Son of Man. Okay, they didn't like that. They thought, "Who is this guy telling us stories?" Right? All right. So they asked him. They wanted to trick him. They said, "What is the greatest commandment?" And he gives two answers. He says, "Well, there's two great commandments," because they wanted to show, they were trying to catch him to make a mistake, and he doesn't make a mistake. He says, "The two greatest commandments are love the Lord thy God with all of thy heart, soul, and mind. And the second thing is love your neighbor like you love yourself." If you follow those two things, you're not going to break the other commandments anyway. And that's what he was basically saying. And I'm sure that the people who were trying to catch him and making a fool of himself were probably pretty mad because he didn't do it. He didn't make a mistake. All right. The number 11, Beatitudes. Say that with me. A lot of people didn't know how to pronounce that. Beatitudes. Okay, good. Now, what happens is Jesus gives a very, very, very important sermon. And this sermon, I will definitely quiz you on, okay? It's called the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus is actually going to list 8 blessings, okay? And what they are is, you know how like in the Old Testament, the commandments would say things like, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. Well, when Jesus gives the Sermon on the Mount, it's almost the exact opposite, because he like gives a thou shalt. In other words, he said, "Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are those who hunger for righteousness." And he's saying these are the things that you should be doing. Okay, which is opposite of the 10 Commandments, where they were talking about the things you shouldn't do. This is the things you should do. Okay, so that was a very, very important sermon that Jesus gave. Now, I know all of you have heard of this one, right? And this one, actually, a lot of people claim that this golden rule was written even before the time of Jesus in other religions as well, namely Buddhism. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, I being Catholic, growing up Catholic, I've always attributed this to Jesus. But there are writings where in Buddhism where it was very similar. It wasn't the exact same wording, but very similar wording where the Buddha had said this as well. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the names that you're going to see is a guy by the name of Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate, he was the Roman governor who was living in Jerusalem at the time. Okay, and what he does is he tries to rule with a really iron fist over the Jewish people, right? And a lot. Remember, I had talked to you earlier about how a lot of people were trying to trick Jesus and they didn't like Jesus, like a lot of the Jewish, the Pharisees and the let's see, it was like the Sanhedrin, those the groups of Jewish philosophers and thinkers. They didn't like this new guy, this radical guy by the name of Jesus, some guy with a beard walking around, and taking tax collectors and thieves and beggars and fishermen and getting a group of guys together. They didn't like that, so they claimed that Jesus was breaking Jewish law by claiming that he was the Son of God. So they bring him in front of Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate doesn't want to punish him at first, but because of such a large outcry, they will hold Jesus and actually put Jesus to death. Okay. Now, this is where the story gets a little bit different. Now, I have a picture over here. Somebody asked me if it was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. I wish. That's just a print. Okay. The real one is a fresco. Do you know what a fresco is? It's a wall painting, right? Well, that is the Last Supper. Okay, and that is when Jesus broke bread with his disciples, and he tells them, "Hey, one of you are going to betray me." Of course, no, we would never betray you, but we know that one of them does. Does anybody know who that was? Judas. Good. Jesus actually goes to the Garden of Gethsemane. Can you pronounce that? Gethsemane. Good job. He goes to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he prays, and that is where he is arrested by the Romans. Yeah. And here he is, Judas. He's going to betray Jesus. He kisses him on the cheek, and that lets the Romans know which one Jesus is. And Jesus is going to be crucified. Again, this is in the Catholic Church. Jesus is pictured as still on the cross. And it's according to Christianity, he dies for everyone's sins, right? According to Christianity. And a lot of Protestant faiths, they have the cross, but Jesus is not on the cross. Yes, sir.
Why did he betray him with a kiss, though?
Why does he?
If he kissed him, he was like, "That's the guy."
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he kisses him on the cheek, which was a very common greeting. Yes, sir.
So I mean, he did do something against the law. He disturbed the peace.
Well, yeah, a lot of people had claimed that he was disturbing the peace, but it was not punishable by death. It should not have been punishable by death. All right. Next, the resurrection. According to the Christian faith, Jesus is going to be resurrected. Resurrected just means brought back to life.
With the tomb and all that.
Yes. Okay. And in the Christian faith, he is resurrected, and a lot of Roman soldiers were there at the tomb. Okay, when the tomb is rolled back and the light comes out and Jesus is resurrected, and then they actually told the story of what had happened, and a lot of them were threatened with prison if they didn't change their story. All right, last thing that I'm going to that I have on your list for you guys to go over is this last scripture, Luke 22:19. It says, "This is my body given up for you. Do this in remembrance of me." What is this referring to? Yes, sir. When they break the bread. Absolutely right. When they break the bread, he says, "This is my body." And of course, the wine represents what? Blood. Okay. Very good job, you guys. All right. Well, those are your notes for the life of Jesus. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my video and I'll post this for you guys if you want to go back over it. All right.